Hello and welcome to the Morningscape podcast. I am Matt Moody. I just realized I didn't set up my camera for this, but it doesn't matter. We have a 14 game slate extravaganza of a podcast for you. I am joined by, of course, DJ Mitchell. DJ, let's hit the intro video.
You're saying they're looking like an idiot.
Well, is that any different than normal?
This is the first time I will admit was unbelievably wrong.
Almost nailed it. I got very thrown off by realizing I had no camera. So, hey, it's just my laptop camera. Anyway, how you doing?
Good. Hockey's back. Opening night was fun. I feel like it was as good as it could be for the Discord. It wasn't very good for exactly my bags. I think I added up and I was a net $50 on a few $100. So I'm not gonna lose sleep over it, but it wasn't my all-time greatest. How was your opening night?
I pretty much broke even. The Crease Master I got there for the old min cash and the high stakes, and that kept me afloat. And I also hit Brock Nelson power play point for, I think it was like plus 300 or something. So I got a bunch back for that too. So basically a break even. I think I might have lost a little bit or won a little bit, but yeah, not too bad. It was pretty rough. Actual games watching. I haven't watched any of the two games on Wednesday as we record this at about 9:00 Eastern. So I'm not sure if they're any better. But it was pretty rough for the vast majority of yesterday's slate. Those games were not pretty, let's just say.
Yeah. I feel like the first period, it kind of felt like it had a bit of a buzz to it, and then it kind of completely fell off the map. Game two, I thought actually kind of looked good. The only thing that didn't look good, in my opinion, was JT Miller. He just didn't look himself. I'm hoping that the injury continues to get better, but he didn't really look himself, and the Rangers didn't quite click on all cylinders. And my favorite goalie to pronounce his name correctly had a shutout. Game three, I gotta be honest, I stayed up till about the end of the second period. I just couldn't do it, and I wasn't even boring. I thought it was the best game. It was the best one. I mean, yeah.
The third period was a masterclass. I mean, we had everything in that third period. Brant Clark was just doing all the things. The dude thought he was a bowling ball, and he was just going for the split every single time there's a crease. Jesus Christ, a rebound. He would just charge the crease and just bowl guys over. It was pretty excellent. They actually scored a goal that's what saved me. So it was like a late sweat where I kind of got bailed out at the end by Nelson and Fiala getting his value, and just no one had them in the high stakes contest. So I had fun, but even just as a watcher, I mean, Brant Clark was just going ape shit because they were down, and I'm pretty sure that's just his role. It's like if you're losing, you're just out there to go do stuff. So yeah, the only bad part about that game though was Bucci was on the call, and he's just horrendous.
I've decided this year I'm not going to be negative about almost anything to do with the play-by-play callers, because the only thing I will say in everyone's defense is the passion is there. There is no denying the passion of a lot of these guys, and I'm just gonna look on the bright side. Every time there's a call, I'm just gonna be right. Be good about things. But we can get into the 14 game slate, because if we go on and on for too long, I've already been warned by the Discord not to go on and on too long.
Yeah, speaking of finding the positives, the first game on this 14-game slate is an absolute doozy. We do have some nice contests in the lobby, so before we get to that, let's just highlight on DraftKings, there is a 333 of 20K to first. The first $340 qualifier. Looks like the Fantasy Hockey World Championship is an 800K prize pool of 200K to first. So I don't think that had been confirmed before opening night where the contest was posted. So yeah, decent contest there. Decent turbo and late slates as well, if that's your thing, smaller slates, but still some money to be won. And of course, next week they posted the Spinorama, 100K to first, 400K total prizes. That is also, the satellites are in the lobby now. So lots of stuff to play for over on DraftKings. I'm assuming you did not look at the underdog offering. So let me just pull that up because I do respect what they've done to start the year here. And yep, we're still at we're up to 10K to first now in the $7, so that's pretty cool. $1,000 to first place, but that 10K total prizes I think is the high water mark so far this year. So shout out to them for doing the thing. And yeah, we've got 14 games to get through. You can look it up what the games are. I feel like we read through them and it doesn't really
Yeah.
matter. So let's just go through it. Chicago at Boston leads us off. Boston on a back-to-back. Um, Chicago, I didn't think looked terrible against Florida. They certainly could use some work, but like that second line was actually really, really good. I mean, no surprise they scored twice, but like they, really dominated things. Okay, what the hell did we do last time for this? That, right? Okay.
That was correct. Yes.
Okay.
Um,
So
there we go.
the second line is really the only place I think I would want to target here. Worth noting that Sam Renzel played 25 minutes. So they did say after the game that was going to be dialed back going forward. But given the way that the rest of the blue line played, I don't know if that's a possibility. And also important, Alex Vlasic's back. So a true top pair with Vlasic and Renzel, it seems
Yep.
like. So yeah, I feel pretty good about Sam Renzel at this point.
Yeah, no, I think that was, I think, honestly, watching the Blackhawks felt like watching every time the Sabres tried to break the puck out with Rasmus Ristolainen back in the day. It was just this slog of nothingness and misery. But when Renzel was out there, I thought they looked a lot better. I am a Vlasic believer as far as his total game. Levshunov started to come together. Like there's a semblance of a hockey team here. It's not a good one. They're playing a back-to-back Bruins team, and I think there's also like a semblance of a team there as well, but neither of them have a ton of star power. As you're mentioning, like Renzel was sort of the motor that drove from the back end. Just looks different. Like than every other defenseman on that team, he looks a little bit of a step above. The top line never really produced, but I didn't think looked horrific for Chicago. And then the second line's the one that got all the cookies. One of them on kind of a fast break,
Yep.
and the other, I honestly can't even remember Teravainen's goal right now. But I'm probably fading this game. Like I don't really think it's necessary on a 14 game slate to dive in, but I get the value of the second line.
Yeah, worth noting, Ryan Donato off the top line. Colton Dock is there. They moved Mikheyev there mid-game last game, but no, Colton Dock, whatever. It's pretty much, top power play guys only for me. And I think they played well enough. You can consider that second line. But just see what the talking heads are chatting about in the space, because who knows if having that one game sample size is throwing people onto them. But it's all cheap. It's all fine. Bedard, could Bedard, but I'm not super interested here.
Yeah, I just do not understand that first power play. It looked horrific. That needs Donato. Like no one else can do anything besides Renzel and Bedard. I don't understand. But moving over, Boston's playing right now. I believe it's still 1-0 Bruins. Double check here. Yep, still 1-0 Bruins. By the way, this game, if you're wondering, it is a 5.5. Bruins are minus 162 favorites at home. The top line, I think we'll see at least some ownership. Like it's Pasternak against Chicago, Geeky, hit Lindholm. It's all correlated. I don't really see why you wouldn't take a look at McAvoy. But until I see like the final results of this game and everything that sort of went, I'm going to reserve some of my, my takes on Boston, but planning on not playing them right now. Cause I think we said this, like, I believe Chicago is a little bit better defensively than people maybe give them credit for.
Yeah, Boston is at least aggressively priced. They didn't leave Geeky and Lindholm hanging out in like the 4K range or whatever. So you do need to at least pay up for their power play guys. I'm interested to see how Charlie McAvoy looks in this game. Obviously, not watching the game.
Yeah.
But I'm guessing he's back full go, so I think he's going to be more the McAvoy of a few years ago than the McAvoy of last year. But I wrote about it in my slate preview, which by the way, moods.beehive.com. There were 3 moods dudes, I think, for almost every team, and the 2 for Montreal that hit were Bolduc and Kapanen. So if you use some salary relief there for my newsletter, you're probably in good shape. So shout out to me, pat on the back for that. But I wrote about McAvoy a little bit, and at 5K, I think he's a pretty strong option. And yeah, certainly a guy that with Pastrnak I would be highly interested in. But I can't find anything else on this team to even be remotely interested in, even in a better matchup than today. I just don't think there's anything here. So let's keep it going. We're going to need the swift pace in order to keep this within the realm of reasonable. So let's go to the Rangers heading into Buffalo. DJ, you mentioned JT Miller being injured. The coach directly addressed that, basically said, like, it may have even been on him that JT Miller looked so bad out there. Like, he should have reined it in. Doesn't necessarily make me excited to go back to the well on Thursday night heading into Buffalo. So there's that. But Panarin, JT Miller did deal with injuries throughout training camp. So the fact that they got shut out by Pittsburgh in those two specifically did not look very good. Certainly could explain it. It's just a matter of when do they heal now that the season started. So kind of got to play that one by day, I think.
Yeah, it's like try to, I mean, we're in the freaking Sabres logo right now, so take this with a grain of salt. But like the Sabres feel like they should be much better defensively, and part of me believes that last year was much more goaltender driven failure for Buffalo than defensive driven failure. So when you add that in with a Rangers team, I guess that they're on the back to back or anything, but banged up, already played a game this season, it didn't really click. I just feel like it's unnecessary, but if you are going to the Rangers, any way you do it, I think Zibanejad just is involved in that lineup build you're building. Like, he had 10 shot attempts. He actually looked all the parts that you'd want in the best puck. And the guy is clearly trying to get the puck on the power play.
Yeah, the problem was that goal scoring touch was not there because he certainly had some looks, and it did not feel like he was that close to hitting any of them, which isn't great. But hey, we'll take it. I think he's too expensive though. 6,500. It's just every team's in action pretty much outside of like Matthews and McDavid. So yeah, there's not a ton of places to spend up, but there's still there's not every spot to spend up, but there are still a ton of spots to spend up, and I do not think that Zibanejad at 6,500 with a clearly hampered JT Miller is where I want to stake my claim.
It was as if Zibanejad hates Penguins, the way he was ripping the puck directly at the crest of the goalie. Like, it was like, dude, come on, man. Like, try to pick a corner maybe, but I wouldn't I just I think you're getting to Lafreniere, who also had like the second most shot attempts in the game, but
mid-game he replaced Trocheck on the top power plays, so I'm actually going to plug that in as sort of what I'm expecting. But we heard from Sullivan the day before the season started that Lafreniere is going to get looks and he's not going to get looks, so it's like very much a fluid situation for him. If you're playing Panarin, I think you got to play Lafreniere with that in mind. But again, I'm not running to jam these guys in after how they looked against Pittsburgh. I'm kind of in a wait and see now that we know injuries like impacted them and it wasn't just them being a bit cautious. I think we got to see it before we sort of dive back in. So on the Sabres side, I also am just a little blah about this spot. Tage looks pretty decent for 7,200. But I would definitely like it more if Josh Norris were a bit cheaper, 5,500. He's the classic guy where game to game, he has a massive ceiling. But if he doesn't hit that ceiling, he's also not super likely to grind you out, 10 to 12 DraftKings points and keep you on pace. So with all that in mind, I'm pretty much out on this spot. One guy who interests me, though, is Jason Zucker, 4,400, top power play, second line with Kulik and Tuck. DJ, what are your thoughts on the Sabres here?
Yeah, I mean, one thing that I'm just really like, I know it's the softest thing I'll probably say on this podcast, but I am actually going to try to just commit to playing more cash games this year because they're probably one of the more expected value positive. Like, it just seems like an easy, if I'm doing all this research, I should probably try to build a cash team. Like, I'm looking at the best plays and then looking at, kind of the game theory approach to DFS. Might as well throw some in. Like, you could just play Tage Thompson and that, like, I think he's like a kind of a smash in cash games, but you're probably going all the way in with a Norris, a Dahlin. Like, there's an easy way to see how you could stack this and feel good about it. Are you including Zach Benson? Again, real low floor type of player. Josh Norris, it's like real low floor but high ceiling. It doesn't feel comfortable in any way, but I wonder if they'll keep people off of it in the 14 games that we have. It's not the best spot, right? But Tage is price plays on the entire slate, so it's an interesting balancing act. I love the Tage and Darlene, but I think that's the way people will play it. So I think if I am doing it, I'm at least throwing in the third on Norris, if not the fourth with Benson, because I think people are just going to play this skinny.
Okay. That's fine. I mean, whatever. I'm not going to tell you not to. One punt option that honestly might be popular is Owen Power. 3K for the minutes he's projected to play. The only downside is the Sabres will be without Michael Kesselring to start the year. Obviously, he was the main reason they traded JJ Peterka, so tough blow that he's out. So Power and Jacob Bryson, the other options though are Matthias Samuelson and Connor Timmins. So I think Power will play a bunch. Regardless, but maybe a bit less, impactful minutes than otherwise. But 3K just for his profile seems very rock solid. You see last year, he was about 18% better than average in terms of getting DK points per minute. That works, he's not Darlene, but he's also significantly better than like a Bo Byram, who is 3,800. And, if you keep that number in mind and go across the slate, you'll see that Owen Power looks pretty good. Montreal at Detroit. By the way, the Sabres in that game are a slight road dog. Rangers minus 115. That would make the Sabres, minus 105-ish. And it's a 6.5 total. So maybe the total bros get us there.
Yeah, they're home. You said road dog, but they're home.
Okay. Well, yes, home dog is, of course, what I meant. Arf arf.
6.5 on that one, like you said. And we move over to the Canadians on a back-to-back and also a 6.5. The home Red Wings, a slight favorite at minus 130, as you're alluding to. So this game, I think, is probably one that people are going to cover to more. Caulfield, Suzuki, Slavkovsky, top line doesn't run you a metric ton. Bolduc scored. He's 3,400. He was top power play. Looks pretty dangerous. That Doc Gallagher line looked fine. Then you get down to the Demidovs of the world, who are good, but at 4,500, it feels a little bit tough to actually click on. Although, as you mentioned, Oliver Kapanen does seem like a player. So an interesting team, a good matchup. I don't think either of us are going to go to bat for the Red Wings being one of the tougher teams in the league to face. So are you interested in playing a back-to-back team on a 14-game slate, though, is probably the final thing you got to cross.
I mean, I certainly don't think we need a guy like Oliver Kapanen, who just doesn't have a power play role, so like just on shorter slates, the really thin
better on a 4-gamer, yeah.
But 14 games, you certainly don't need to do that. The other prices though all seem fine. I mean, the top line is going to run 17.6K. Bolduc is 3,400 still. He scored actually a 5-on-5 goal, but still top power play for him. So all those guys make sense. The number one target, of course, is that Sider and Chirot pairing, because Ben Chirot is absolutely abysmal. So taking advantage of that, which I assume they match up with the Caulfield Suzuki line, that could work. Again, road back to back. I'm not too excited by it, but it certainly could work. So. Any other thoughts on this game? I wrote about Dobson, Demidov, but we got to keep an eye on them. It's too expensive for now. But as it gets cheaper, they could be pretty decent.
I wouldn't get cute here. I think it's top line or nothing, and I'm pretty hesitant to click on it. But I get it. Early in the season, too. We go over to the Red Wings. I mean, a couple of things I didn't expect, at the very least. Like Larkin Raymond, sure. I absolutely thought that could be the case. I actually was sort of drafting quite a bit of this, and I really like the idea of Casper with Kane in general, but DeBrincat makes a ton of sense there. I think that line makes just a really good cohesive unit there. Emmett Finney was not someone I had pegged for the top line with Larkin and Raymond personally, but excited to see it. We also get a very interesting punt defenseman in Axel Sandin Pellikka, profiles to be a rates guy. He definitely will shoot the puck. He is with Edvinsson, who is a guy that I've always been a fan of. I think he's a really, really good kind of all-around player in the NHL. So I love that pairing. As we're saying, it probably won't get the toughest matchup in the world. Like Montreal has a semblance of depth, but it's not like it's depth I'm petrified of. So another great punt option, as well as Michael Brangard, Brand, I'm gonna get tried. Brand Seg Nygaard. Got to slow myself down to say it all the way through. Like he also feels like sort of a Zuccarello type of player. I think. Why do I feel like he's from Norway? Am I wrong about this?
That is correct. Yes.
He's from Norway.
The
Yeah.
name didn't give it
So
away.
I was trying to think of like why did I relate him to somebody? Exactly because he's from Norway. That's why. But yeah, 50th overall pick, a decent offensive pedigree at least in this league. So there's like punts here that are interesting as well. Like it's a really interesting Red Wings lineup. I think like I'm getting to for multiple reasons. Do you think people are going to glom to the punts, or is anyone going to go for maybe
I
a stack of sorts up top? What are your thoughts?
I I wonder. I mean, yeah, 6.5 back to back. What Detroit's minus 130. I guess like the optimizers just might, they might take Larkin Raymond, and instead of trying to jam in an expensive DeBrincat or Kane, they just go Emmett Finney. I don't know. I mean, Emmett Finney's, you can see his draft prospect status over here, a 7th rounder in 2023, or is that a six? I think it's a 7th rounder, and just, I mean, a meteoric climb in training camp specifically. He wasn't all that great in the WHL last year. He was fine, but yeah, he's 20. He's 6'1", 190, and again, was just all the rage of training camp. So this feels like a guy who just hit the turbo or whatever. He just hit the gas and just didn't let up. And we'll see what happens when the games actually count. So I I'm not doing it because I trust the minor stuff and whatever too much to be like, oh well, the donkey Simbros are gonna do it. So I got it. Like I don't really, I'll happily play Larkin Raymond to Brinket or whatever
Yeah.
if it comes down to it. I think I prefer just straight up to Brinket Casper Kane though. I mean, you mentioned it with Casper already. Like he's awesome, and you get the cheap defenseman and Axel Sandin Pellikka, who I think that's like a legitimate a guy who could ascend to the top power play this year. So getting him at 2,500, playing with Edvinsson, I mean, you set the case perfectly. Why not just say, okay, Sherratt Sider, they get Larkin Raymond to get the tougher matchup. How about these guys go out against Kirby Doc? Yes, please. So that's, I think, what I would do with Detroit, and it's extremely interesting because Alex DeBrincat, I think, is far too cheap. He's 1,000 less than Tage, who we talked about, and his statistical profile is not too far off of Tage Thompson. So,
Yeah.
I
This
I think
slate
that's where I'm
does
going
kind
here.
of set up in general, and early in the season we see this quite often where it's not a ton to spend up on. Like there's 4 players above 8K in DraftKings for salary. McKinnon, Pasternak, Kucherov, Kaprizov. All of them you could fit in with other stacks pretty easily. So like the punts aren't entirely necessary across the board, but if you can find one to get in to afford some, I think it can help make your lineup a little more unique. So I like the play. I really do like the Red Wings. I like the second line a lot. I think I'm in, I'm walking with you on that one.
All right. Philly at Florida. Florida is a significant favorite here in a 5.5 game, minus 195 for the Florida Panthers. On the Flyer side, we're looking at Dvorak, Couturier, and Michkov, Forster, Cates, Brink, and Konecny, Zegras, Tippett. I am interested in how the 5-on-5 ice time flows from here because last year Forster, Cates, Brink played as like a first line as far as their 5-on-5 minutes were concerned. They were very good together. I wonder if that holds and that just leaves Michkov and the Konecny, Zegras, Tippett line really fighting for scraps when it comes to 5-on-5 usage, or if Kate's line goes in sort of a backseat and they actually do give Michkov a 20-minute role, or they just try to jam Tippett, Konecny, Zegras down everyone's throats for 20 minutes a night, because obviously they'll get power play time, Konecny will get PK time. So there's a lot of ways this could go. Thankfully, DK just set the pricing so that I don't need to consider it. I mean, Nick Sealer is 5,000, and like, I mean, just that alone is hilarious. But Couturier 5K, Zegras 5,100, Tippett 6K, Konecny 7K, and Michkov 6,400. Like, it's just a no for me, dog. I can't really find a way to make this team relevant at these prices.
I know, and I really would love to play like a 1% stack on a 14 game slate. Like it makes me feel real good
Yeah.
inside, but especially a perfectly correlated one like the connecting Zegers Tippett, like that gets me excited. And at the end of the day, I just cannot justify these prices. So for that reason, I'm out.
All right. Yeah, even Jamie Drysdale is 4,700. I mean, the dude is allergic to fantasy points, and just ramp it on up, DK.
Yeah.
So thank you for
Yeah,
that.
and we hope that this team is more offensively inclined under a new coach, and they do put the best players out there for more minutes. But I'm not going to hold my breath entirely for Tocchet. So yeah, let's move over to the Panthers. We've seen what they've done in Game 1. It was the Mackie Samoskevich show, as many smart people could have predicted him being a decent value. I think people will go potentially back to it here. There's plenty of punts to get to, but he is of note. The second power play, that line was very good with Erod. The top line for Higgy, Bennett, Marchand was held off the board. I don't know if that'll get people too far off of them, but could go back to it. Reinhart missed practice, but's going to play. They said it was no concern, just didn't practice. Like Florida, kind of one of those teams that does that more often than not with some of the older players. I think my biggest takeaway from the first game is Florida doesn't really excite me. They don't really have any massive needle pushers. And if I'm going to play them, I'm playing it through Reinhart because I think he's the only player with the massive upside in the 14 game slate that I want to get to. I get Bennett has done it and can do it, but Reinhart or nothing if I'm playing the Panthers and I'm including pieces around him.
Yeah, I'm not sure what to do because I mean, Phillies without Cam York. They added Trevor Zegras. Like if there's a direction for them to go, it's toward more fun. And so after the way Florida kind of dudded on a pretty big stage against Chicago, like I do wonder if there's some negative effect of that just because there's so many other options that we haven't seen yet. We haven't seen those guys dud. That like Bennett and Marchand are like built in a lab to just accrue DraftKings points by shooting and potentially scoring. But like it's at least stylistically pretty interesting because I don't necessarily think Philly's the most rugged team around the net, and those guys live to crash the net. Power play. Seth Jones 5,600. You can make that work, I think, fairly easily. So a nice little mid-tier stack, that 3-man of Bennett, Marchand, and Seth Jones. But yeah, not chasing the Mackie Samoskevich dragon. Second star in Game 1. Shout out to Tua for Prez. I wonder where he gets his ideas for drafting like 100% Mackie Samoskevich in Best Box season. But off to a strong start, I gotta say. Next game, Islanders at the Penguins. Minus 130 favorites on the Islanders. Pittsburgh at home. This game is a 5.5 total. Islanders, Druin, Horvat, Emil Heineman, Lee, Barzell, Palmieri, Shabanov, Pajot, Holmstrom, Duclair, Zika, Siplikov. It's actually a better team than I sort of like figured that they would be. You just look at that like, oh, that actually might be 4 lines you can play. There's not a Matt Martin, Cal Clutterbuck combination there anymore. And defensively, we've got Pelech, Pulak, Romanov, D'Angelo, Schaefer, Mayfield. I mean, if Matt Schaefer is the player that, drafted first overall, if he's good, could this team actually be like a playoff contender, DJ? Like, any thoughts on them just in the macro before we get into this?
I mean, it's a tall order. It's because at the end of the day, it's like, is there enough goal scoring here to make me feel warm and fuzzy? And like, I just don't know if I'm a believer in this defensive core quite enough to think that they can entirely put teams away. Like Mayfield lost a step, it felt like last year, pretty substantially. So did Pulak and Pelech. It just kind of felt like all around, maybe they can bounce back. Like that's the only tangible way I think this team becomes interesting is like if every one of these players that last year took a pretty big step back, like I said, Mayfield, Pelech, Pulak, then there's a chance, as well as Schaefer obviously showing up at 18, unlike almost any defenseman of the past, including guys like Victor Hedman and Rasmus Dahlin, and actually being a difference maker. It just feels like a lot has to go right for them to just stiff the playoffs, in my opinion. But I get the excitement because I do agree that like up and down this lineup, especially at forward, it feels like there's 4 cohesive lines that have playmakers. They have, guys, but is there enough elite talent here to kind of overcome the shortcomings? It's got to be Matt Barzal. It's got to be him completely driving the bus, which I was hoping would happen last year, and it never happened because of injuries. I just don't know if there's enough here. So I do like the top 6 okay, and I definitely think they're going to be a more so, though, an interesting DFS pivot. And this might be a good spot to look into it. It's not that expensive. I think that, Horvat and Heineman are a really interesting connection of guys. Like, we kind of talked about Josh Norris being a bit expensive and has an elite shot. So obviously the ceiling's there, and that's kind of what you're getting at 2,700 and a worse one, but only 2,700 for an Emil Heineman, where it's like, he might only have 2 shots, but if one of those goes in at 2,700, you're dancing in the streets. And like, that's the ability there. So I think it's a really interesting play against, it's still a bad Penguins team.
Yeah, Horvat and Juin, I think, are decent values. Barzal, Palmieri, Lee, they're all in the 5K range. You got to take a leap of faith on Barzal, I think. Lee's not on that top power play, which makes him a bit thinner. So I think if it's anything, that top line is only 12.7K. You can fit in a lot with that. So I would just full stack it and hope to get 2 goals somewhere from Juin, Horvat, Heineman. And I can do without Tony D. I'm not taking Matt Schaefer in his first game at 4K. Like, nothing like that really stands out to me. So the one name to keep an eye on is this Max Shabanov guy. He's the dead minimum right now. But he's Maxime on the stats, but he was awesome in the KHL, and he is 25. So, turning 25 soon at the very least, if he's not 25. So like, he's a rookie, but he is, a fully grown professional. So if he gets into the top 6, just keep an eye on his price, because he could be lots of fun. And obviously with Heineman there, it's not unforeseen that Shabanov gets in there for half a game against Pittsburgh at the dead minimum in the top 6. So on the Pittsburgh side, Koivunen, Crosby, Raquel is 17.7K. The star of the show from Tuesday night, Mantha, Malkin, Brazo, they are 12.9K. Yes, they are $200 more than the Islanders' top line. And I don't know. We're having Hollander draw in for Tomasino because reasons, and who knows what they do in the goal. Does Shilovs just run the table and get 50 starts this year? Maybe. I don't know. I don't really know what to make of that performance from game 1. So any interest in Pittsburgh here at home?
I mean, passive amounts. I'm not going back to that line 2, and I kind of was kicking myself for not playing a little bit more of it. Like, I had like a little I had 0 Justin Brazeau. I mean, that was just a kick in the nuts when I was like, man, I really like this line too. I just don't know how to make, like, it seemed unnecessary yesterday. Yesterday as of recording. But top line didn't really get me all that excited. Koivunen looked okay. Like, it just feels like one of those fancy play syndrome type of things with Pittsburgh against an Islanders team that I'm probably just not going to do. There's better spots for cheaper, but I get the line 2 for the Penguins is really cheap and like has some semblance of upsides, clearly.
Yeah, Mantha looked really good on the puck. He missed last year to did he tear his ACL last year? Or is that like multiple years ago that I'm thinking of? But anyway, he's been the pure case of injury. And if he's back, it was an ACL injury last year. Okay. If he's back at full throttle, Gino top power play, like that line could be good, going forward, but I don't think it's, anything that you're scared of missing out on. So Ottawa at Tampa, okay, 6.5 for this game on the Score app, at least. Tampa is a -165 favorite. I'll let you lead off here. Any thoughts on this Ottawa side?
Seeing Shane Pinto back on the top power play always gets me feeling something. I don't know what that something is. I like, this Ottawa team is good. I'm not arguing that. I don't know what I would do here, but I know one thing. If I am stacking Ottawa, it's coming through Jake Sanderson. 5,900 feels cheap to me. It might just be correct. I don't know. It's just, this slate just feels like everything's a little bit underpriced for the most part. But nothing feels sticky. I like Perron Cousins okay. Amadio is a player that I've considered on smaller slates. Brady, Stutzel, Zetterlund, I guess, right? But like nothing feels very cohesive here. So I probably end up just not doing it. I don't know if I find a GPP winner in this vacuum, and playing Tampa just doesn't get me equally doesn't get me all that excited. Like not a great matchup. So I don't know. I like the Tampa side, I think, more, and I think I'm just probably going to end up not playing Ottawa. But can you convince me otherwise?
I don't really want to. The Tampa is a little weird right now. They got like their brains broken by the preseason somehow. They brought in like this 6'9" goon named Curtis Douglas to be a goon. I don't know why they think they need a goon against Ottawa, for example, but like it's one of those things. Like they actually got JJ Moser suspended from that fracas. Like it was a absolute disaster. I I can't sit here and tell you what the ramifications are of that, but there's at least some weird vibes percolating in a 6.5. Brady Kachuk, obviously, he's gonna be a threat for 5 shots. If one of those shots goes in, he's pretty much a lock for 20. Then if he gets another assist, if he gets 3-point bonus somehow, like you're talking about a mega smash. So the price works. I mean, Tim Stützle's fairly cheap as well, 5,600. And then Zetterlund is very cheap at 3,800. So I am kind of a believer in Zetterlund, and like, why not take a stab at it here for a combined 16.4K? But that's about all I can get behind here. Pinto's just a beneficiary of Batherson, who should return on Saturday. 4,300 though, I don't think I'm missing out. But certainly an option if you're in a pinch and need a one-off. Yeah. And no Cousins until Batherson's back. The second line kind of sucks.
Yeah. Okay. I think that's fair enough. We can, but the Tampa side, obviously much more cohesive with the top line being all top power play together. Victor Hedman, 6,200. I don't know if I'm getting there myself, but I get why you do it. Is it a great matchup? I guess no, but this Ottawa team doesn't feel like it's at full strength as we're mentioning either. So I am tentatively considering Tampa 1 here on a 14-game slate, and I feel like that's not going to be incredibly common. There's spots that we haven't gotten to yet that feel better, or maybe a little bit chalkier, but in reality, I don't know if there's any ultra chalk on this slate, and I don't know if a lot of it's going to go to Tampa.
Yeah, I don't have a great grasp on ownership, and honestly, on a slate this big, I don't really think it matters. Like, if you somehow manage to play the 2 chalk stacks that you're playing 3v3 D and goalie roulette, like, I mean, you might just suck at this because it's going to be really hard to do. I think to be that duplicated just with all the options and the soft pricing. So it's fine. I'm not a huge proponent of Gensel points, so them at 7K is just a little bit like, but of course the upside's there. I mean, if all these guys get 3 points, they're perfectly correlated, and they can mega smash. Oliver Bjorkstrand at 4,100 will be their power play 1 like addition. So if you want to do something like point Kucherov Bjorkstrand, I think that's actually okay. But I'm not doing anything cute with like power play 2 or anything like that, because I think Ottawa, should be a decent team this year. Not a team I want to pick on a short slate with, depth options. All right. Not much to talk about there, honestly. So, moving along. New Jersey at Carolina. Minus 155 for the Hurricanes, 5.5 total. New Jersey will have Brett Pesce in the lineup, it appears. He's technically a question mark still, I believe, so keep an eye on that. But Dadonov, Hughes, Bratt, Timo, Hischier, Mercer. Luke Hughes on the top power play today in practice. He's 4,300 compared to Dougie, who is 6,100 on power play 2. Jack Hughes is 7,500, Bratt 6,600, in case you were curious. Any interest in the 3-man stack of Hughes, Bratt, Hughes for a combined 18.4K, DJ?
I have some interest. I mean, it's just one of those situations against Carolina that no one's going to click the buttons. And I think that that's about as cheap as it could probably be. I'm a Luke Hughes believer, maybe one of the braver ones out there. So I do think I'd be stacking through him. Like I think there's going to be more upside coming to him with volume and stuff that we started to see before the injury, and then it evaporated, of course. I think I could really see myself going this route. This Carolina team, it's like, is it unpenetrable defensively, right? With clearly, I think of the game, I would argue, pretty suspect goaltending. So like Slavin was a bit injured in training camp. They added Ehlers and they got a little bit more fun offensively. Like they always been a pace team, but this is no slouch on the other side with the Devils. Like I think this is kind of the spot I'm the most interested so far. And I'm wondering if you're just going to tell me I'm an idiot for saying that about a 14-game slate, which would be fine.
Yeah, I kind of feel like it's on the road in Carolina. It's just not necessary. Um,
Oh, okay. So you're a coward.
they're
Cool.
like, I mean, do you really think Brent Burns was driving the bus defensively for this team? Like,
Yeah, I
I
do.
don't know. Like,
I
sure, good
I
luck
thought
with that.
he kind of looks like a crazy bus driver.
I mean, I guess you're not
I don't
wrong.
know. I'm not saying that like it's the best play on the slate, but like especially if you're playing like multiple lineups, I'm probably gonna have a few in the $20. Like, yeah, I think you throw a stab at this. Like Jack Hughes is one of the best players in the world. I think he's a top 10 player in the league, a top 10 forward at least. And not playing him at 7,500 just because I'm a little bit afraid of a matchup on opening night against a team that I think is just a little bit over hyped in the DFS space for as far as being this defensive juggernaut. Like they've given up touchdowns. I think it's an interesting play because of Luke Hughes. That price seems way too low. And I'm guessing you don't think
Um,
that's fair because you think he
yeah,
sucks.
I don't. Yeah, I think Luke Hughes is whatever. I mean, he certainly could be really good, but he's not there yet. So maybe this year's the year. But um, yeah, I'm a bit underwhelmed by Luke Hughes in totality. I'm underwhelmed by the matchup. So let's get to Carolina. Ehlers, Aho, Jarvis are unbelievably low priced,
Yeah.
17.6K. Svechnikov even 5,400 is an option. Like I'm having a very hard time uh like processing those prices. I think they're going to get a full workload. Jordan Stahl's role has dissipated over time. Logan Stankoven is hardly a true center. So like I think Aho Jarvis Sealers played 19
Yeah.
to 20 minutes as a projection. Like, Brenda Morris said all offseason that Ehlers is going to be the guy there, and they're putting him, in the penthouse with Aho Jarvis. They didn't move Jarvis around. They're not, supplementing the second line with Seth Jarvis's, great two-way game. They're just saying, hey, you're our horses, go run. And I think for that reason, Ehlers Aho Jarvis is my top stack of the night. Play it before we see it kind of deal. I think Sean Walker is also an interesting guy. Maybe not stacked with them, or maybe you could. I mean, whatever. If the game goes crazy, but in that Brent Burns role alongside Slavin, Sean Walker was awesome alongside Gostisbehere last year, and now that his role is presumably growing, there's a secondary power play time at least while Nikishin gets his feet wet. I think there's a lot to like here in terms of just overall value, in terms of stacking. So yeah, I guess you agree, but anything else you want to mention?
Yeah, no, I agree. Yeah, I think that I guess I'm alluding to, like, I think this game is interesting in general. And I definitely agree with that top line in Aho Jarvis and Ehlers. I don't think there's any reason to game stack this. Like it's probably I'm totally like it feels like maybe cutting it a little thin. Vegas isn't idiots, and I believe this is a 5.5. I'd be shocked if it wasn't. Actually, I wouldn't be that surprised. What is it? It's a 5.5. I like the top line. I think that price is really, really good all around. So I'm in step there. I don't know if I get the Gostisbehere, but I guess I wouldn't call you insane for doing it. I just feel like there's better options at defense. And like, I mean, I don't know. Like, how much run is he really going to get at 5-on-5 with that top line?
Yeah, let's just keep going. Columbus, Nashville. Not the most exciting game on the calendar, but it's a 6.5. So for DFS, woohoo, yay. Igor Gina Igor? Yeah. Chinikov is a scratch.
Scratch, yep.
Very funny. Very funny. I mean, just absolute
The,
all training camp. He's in the top 6. He's in the top 6. Oh my god, this is so cool. And immediately scratched. Like, okay, whatever.
did you see the quote? It's like we met and we're in, we're on the same side on that. It's like
Yeah.
the guy that wants to get
Gas and
traded.
Reese. Undeniable. Just God.
Yeah. It's gotta be good luck to him in Chicago. That's all I'll say. But yeah, no, this, I mean, the thing about this Columbus team that's frustrating, really the number one, I look at this lineup and I'm like, okay, like it makes sense. And then I'm just like, hold on. Olivier Coyle, Kent Johnson. That's all right. I mean, like how many fourth liners do you need? And why do you have to anchor Kent Johnson to at least 1.5 of them? So this game does very clearly have like 2 bad teams and potential to be fun, but I don't know exactly where I'd want to stack other than through Werenski if it's with Columbus. I don't know. I think I'm more interested in the other side is kind of what I'm alluding to probably. If you're not picking up on that.
I agree. Yeah, Marchenko is pretty expensive, 6,700. A guy I was really coming around on toward the end of Fast Puck season, but that was more. I don't think here is a spot to jump on that. Kent Johnson's too expensive for the role. So yeah, just a real expensive team all around. And then we get to Nashville, where DJ, the top line of Brady Martin, Philip Forsberg, and Ryan O'Reilly. The prospect slappy season has started very early. Normally it's, late March where the young guys come up and just immediately can put on top line roles that we're not really super expecting. And we're just like, all right, like we got to slap it up, take advantage of this. Well, we get Brady Martin, this year's 5th overall pick. Corey Prominent's 40th best prospect in the world. Wheeler's 87th best keeper. So, not necessarily top 10-ish talents, but a top 5 pick. Very good rate stats in the OHL last year. He's 6 foot, apparently hits everyone that moves. So, that's good for him, I guess. But that makes his top line all of a sudden pretty inexpensive, 16.2K against the Blue Jackets. Obviously, Forsberg, O'Reilly are on the top power play. Any interest in Nashville as a result of the Brady Martin show that is apparently starting?
I already said I am interested. I'm really just early in the season. I'm gonna go back to the Roman Josi well. I think people were very burned last year because he was very bad, and then going into this year, it's like, oh, he's got some, an ailment of sorts, and I think it's all gonna just make it. Well, it's gonna percolate through the entire slate, and people are not just gonna be giga jamming Roman Josi every night. I think opening night I'm gonna have him in. Him and Forsberg. I don't even know if I have to have a third piece. I think you could put in Brady Martin. I'm not that interested in playing Ryan O'Reilly at 5K. Doesn't shoot the puck. I guess you could look at the top power play and stack through it, but I'm more than willing to just say Forsberg, if he gets a hat trick, brings along Josi and might not really bring everyone else for the ride. So yeah, I think this is a good spot to get skinny on and 2-man stack it and maybe get a bit deeper in my stack somewhere else.
Yeah. Kemmel, I believe you're a Kemmel slappy.
I'm a huge Kemmel slappy. Yes.
Recent first rounder. I think he's going to play, but this is a spot that Luke Evangelista would go in. Yeah. He just signed a contract like yesterday. So I don't know if he's going to play or not. Kemmel got the power play 2 run though, when they all were on the ice. So it seems like Evangelista will sit at least one game as he gets going. Svechkov is super cheap. Stamkos, obviously 6K. We're betting on a bounce back for him because honestly, last year couldn't have gone any worse. Like, I mean, it's hard to see this year being worse. So this might be the cheapest we get him. Who knows, though? It's not an aggressively bad price, though, 6K. So nothing that I'm super excited about. But yeah, it's a really cheap line what 12.2K for Stamkos, Svechkov, Kemmel, and Roman Yossi. Of course, will play for everyone because he's Roman Yossi. So 7,200 is certainly a price tag you can swallow. And Forsberg, Martin O'Reilly, I already mentioned it. I think that's perfectly fine too. But yeah, not the game for me. Moving on to Minnesota at St. Louis, and I'm just gonna guess this is a 5.5, even though I don't know what the hell the difference is between these two games, Columbus, Nashville, Minnesota, St. Louis. Yet we're confident that neither teams will score. So yeah, 5.5 minus 125 for the Blues. The road team, Kaprizov, Boldy, flanking Marco Rossi, just 4K for Rossi. Unfortunately, no power play one roll to go with it. Zeev Buium, their top power play mate, 3,600. And then Foligno, Eriksson, Tarasenko. Tarasenko, 3,200. I mean, they are just trying to get us to play Minnesota Wild here, DJ. Are you going to take the bait?
I mean, again, it's like early on, if beginning of the podcast, like, are they ever going to get to anything they like? Well, yeah, I do like Minnesota here. I mean, I'm not a Blues disrespecter by any stretch. I would actually consider myself one of the more prominent Blues believers. But when you look at good pricing on a huge slate, here you go. I mean, there's a lot of ways to play this. Kaprizov, Boldy, Eriksson, Tarasenko, Buium. I really don't think any of these players are overpriced. I think you could convince me to play the 5-man stack, to be honest. Like it is doable.
Yeah.
Could you pair that with Yossi and Forsberg? Probably not. That might be getting a little bit aggressive. It might not. It might work. I do like this spot quite a bit, and I don't think you're going wrong any way. Or do you just play Rossi, Kaprizov, Boldy? Like 4K Marco Rossi. Sure. I mean, there's no reason. I get the top power play roles in there, but if Kaprizov goes for 5 points, Marco Rossi should pay off at 4K. So I really like it a lot. One of my favorite stacks on the slate for sure.
Yeah, the perfect storm for Zeev Buium is brewing because Jonas Brodin will return, soon, at least we think, but not in this game it seems like, and so he's paired with Jared Spurgeon. I mean, Middleton Faber's obviously a number one-ish pair, but you've got David Juracek and Jack Bogosian, so it's like even if the coach is like, oh my god, this Buium guy, the way he was in the playoffs last year, where Buium just all of a sudden got sat because whatever defense. They can't really afford to do that. So right away, he's sort of getting thrown into the deep end, and he's got the power play chops for sure. So yeah, Zeev Buium is one of the better plays on the board, I think. Which this price won't last long, I guess is what I'm saying. If he's anywhere close to the type of prospect we think he is, he's going to be 5,500 in no time at all. And take advantage of it now when he's almost guaranteed to play good 5-on-5 minutes as well.
It's the perfect storm. I mean, he's as cheap as he's going to be. It's a massive slate. Hopefully the ownership isn't too high. There's other options, but yeah, I love it, especially with Minnesota or even in cash. As I mentioned, I will be playing. What do you think of the other side?
Yeah, St. Louis split power plays. It's a little too expensive for me. We don't even get the clean correlation of Pius Suter with Holloway Kyrou. They ran Shen there in practice today. The coach, like last week, said something like, it depends on the matchup who centers Holloway and Kyrou. And it's like, well, why don't you just play the better player there, coach? But basically, they said Suter was more. They said one of the guys was more defensively oriented, and the other guy was more offensively oriented. And I was just kind of listening to it like, I don't know, coach. They're the same guy, like one's just a good bit younger than the other, but they're the same fucking guy. So it's all just too expensive for me, though. There's no D-man that I want to play with it. So the best bet, I think, is Thomas and Snuggerud, because Snuggerud is only 3,500. Yeah. If Thomas can keep up the form that he ended last year with, 6,900 is quite expensive for his profile. So I think in order to take advantage of, Robert Thomas's ceiling, you'd want to get the super cheap guy in Snuggerud who has, NHL quality type offensive traits. And we just kind of got to see it now at the NHL level after he came out of college last year.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's not going to be something I have in my builds as far as the Blues. Like, I get why you play it, but I just think I'm going to end up off of it. I respect the Wild a little bit too much, and I just don't think it's entirely necessary. But I think you're right. It's Snuggerud, Thomas. I'd stack it through them.
Okay. So yeah, let's keep going. Dallas at Winnipeg. Dallas minus 115. Winnipeg, basically a pick 'em. 5.5 total here. Dallas, uh, they got us again, DJ. They got us again.
Yeah.
Glenn Gulletson just out here going absolutely hog wild with his lines today in practice. Don't know why. It's not like they've played a game to react to. All training camp they ran, some variant of Robertson, Hintz, Rantanen, or Johnston, Rantanen. Like they were just kind of loading up their top six. Rantanen, Duchesne, Sagan, for example, was a line. But now it's Steele, Hintz, Rantanen, line one, Blackwell, Duchesne, Sagan, Robertson, Johnston, Maverick, Bork.
Sure.
I think Glenn cooked a little too much. I'm guessing he's doing this for the Winnipeg matchup specifically, where like Johnston, Robertson, Bork, I guess get to go out against the Nemestikov line if they try to use, Scheifele out against Hintz and Taze against Duchesne. But I don't know. I truly do not know what to think of this. But it does make the lines cheap if you just want to, spin your roulette wheel. Line two with Blackwell, Duchesne, Sagan is 12.8K. Stack that up with Thomas Harley. You've got yourself a nice little contrarian power play stack, for example. I guess I could see that working, but yeah, a weird situation. Let's just say.
Yeah, no, it makes it a tough play. I don't mind going against Winnipeg and building around that. I think I honestly just play like Rantanen, Robertson, Johnston. Hope that they get more run at 5-on-5 because that is an option that I think exists for them to switch to. But we know Mikko Rantanen is going to be the power play, kind of staple. So it makes sense to me to build it that way, but I probably just don't end up getting to it with how many options are on this slate that I like. Winnipeg is still respectable, and this makes it kind of feel like they're trying to play boring. And I guess if they're trying to make something boring, that try to pick what should get a better offensive look in the Johnston line. I don't know. It kind of feels like you're getting ultra fancy on a 14 game slate when you don't need to. So I think I just end up clicking these buttons.
Okay. On the Winnipeg side, I'm pretty much there with you. Yeah, it's really hard to make sense of this. If you want to do something, Robertson, Hintz, Rantanen, and just say, oh, mid-game they switch because this was all a ploy. I don't know. New coach, who the hell knows what's going on there. Winnipeg, unfortunately, they are without Cole Perfetti to start the year. So in order to replace that, they were going Connor, Scheifele, Velarde, Chibrikov, Taze, Nyquist, Nino, Nemesnikov, Iafallo. Iafallo is now in the top power play with Morrissey, Connor, Scheifele, Velarde. Perfetti was supposed to be like their conductor on the power play. But Ehlers was kind of that role last year. Connor the finisher, Scheifele a finisher, Velarde the net front guy. Like you're asking a lot of Josh Morrissey now to just keep the puck moving, I think. And Gabe Velarde, I think, will take on more playmaking, but the prices here are just a lot for a team going up against Dallas. So I'm out. I do find it very funny that Nikita Chibrikov is 5K. I'm pretty sure they just took their Cole Perfetti price and they were like, just give him that. It's fine. Which, even for him would be aggressive, but still, this is just very funny. So yeah, there's nothing here that there's doubt. I guess Iafallo is a total punt, 3,100 power play one is fine. But yeah, there's been many slates where Iafallo has been fine, and I don't think I've ever played him on any of those.
Yeah, I would say that if I mean, like playing, well, the problem is actually with what I was about to say is that it's only going to be 8 o'clock when this game starts. I was going to say, it feels like Winnipeg would be an interesting pivot off a dead lineup, but like your lineup's probably not dead by 8 p.m. Eastern. So yeah, it's not going to get a lot of ownership.
My lineup's dead by 7.
Yeah. So I don't know. I mean, it's the top line is a good play in probably every single slate, and that top line can beat any team, any night, and win any slate. I get why you click the buttons. It's really expensive, and this is one of the toughest matchups that you could have. So sure, it's in consideration, but that's about it.
All right. And since I know everyone did not read my 2025-26 season preview, the Galaxy Brain take that I am the most proud of came from that about Kyle Connor. I touted why he could win the Selkie this year. So not exactly a ringing endorsement for stacking up this Dallas Winnipeg game a couple days after coming up with that take. But what I said was, what if Winnipeg does the exact same thing as last year? Hellebuck can't win the MVP again, right? Like he wins the Vezina in a walk. Imagine that world. But you're not giving him the MVP. So how do the voters, reward Winnipeg for the same way that they did last year by giving Hellebuck the MVP? Well, Adam Lowry's going to miss the start of the year. Jonathan Toews is going to get hurt. We know this. Mark Scheifele doesn't kill penalties. You know who does? Kyle Connor. Do you know who desperately wants to make Team USA and was scratched in the final game specifically for having a one-way skill set when they wanted to prioritize defending against Team Canada? That man is Kyle Connor.
Oh,
a top scoring forward who kills penalties on a sound defensive team with an elite narrative arc and no direct competition from his first line mates. Velarde has sound defensive metrics, but spent 33 total seconds killing penalties last year. I don't know. I couldn't even find odds to place a bet on Kyle Connor, but I sold myself. So I think I cooked with that one. If anyone sees a Selkie odds on Kyle Connor, let me know because your boy will throw $10 on it. Anyway, well, let's keep it moving to Utah and Colorado. We've already seen Colorado, of course, but Utah here, Keller, Schmaltz, McBain, Peterka, Cooley, Gunther, Kraus, Stenlund, Yamamoto. Utah, of course, having to adjust to a life without Barrett Hayton for a little while. He practiced, so he should be back soon, but it doesn't seem like he'll play in this game. But of course, keep an eye on it. 6.5 total, minus 175 favorites for the Colorado Avalanche at home. Cooley and Gunther are going to run you a combined 11.4K. With all the aggressive pricing going on, for Dylan Gunther to be 300 less than Matvei Michkov, playing with significantly better line mates, I think I'm fairly interested in Dylan Gunther here. Any other players on this team stand out to you? A cheap Jack McBain top line, anything like that do it justice for you?
I mean, I'm stacking with Cooley. I'm doing it. I think I'm jumping on the Logan Cooley. I'm drinking the Cooley Kool-Aid, if you would.
Oh.
I think he's an elite player. I really do. And I think that the shot volume that we saw in preseason could be for real. So I think I'm going to jump in. I'm totally down to stack that whole second line. Colorado can be exploited down the lineup. I think that there's going to be plenty of nights where second and third lines on really good teams find ways to score against, bad defensive pairings. I think I'm going to do it. I think I'm going to really, really take a good look at Gunther, Cooley, Peterka, and just play the whole thing potentially, at least in a couple builds. It's too cheap, and I think it's too talented.
Okay. I can buy it. Dmitry Simishev is in the lineup. He was the 6th overall pick just a few years ago, but it doesn't look like he has anything to offer rates-wise. I do not have the junior league for Russia, though, 2024-2025. So take this with a massive grain of salt. He's a giant dude and certainly could be an option. I don't have a statistical profile on him. But, anytime a top 10 guy is making his debut, I feel obligated to mention it. But with Derzine Sergachev, there's really no offensive role for him. But again, giant, should block shots, whatever. Colorado side, Lehkonen, McKinnon, Nachos, Landeskog, Nelson, Nichushkin. Nachos was going for the hat trick last game. Nate McKinnon, there's actually a freeze frame moment where the announcer was like, they're on the power play super late in the game. Like I said, Brant Clark was playing bowling for fun and just took a penalty by trying to murder someone. And McKinnon, with like a minute 20 left, the announcer, Bucci, goes, Nachos looking for the hat trick. His teammates looking to set him up. And McKinnon standing there for this entire sentence and then takes a weak wrister right into the top chest. Whistle, they change, game over. It was just you mentioned this actually, not me, believe it
Yeah,
or not, but you were
yeah.
like, watch Nate McKinnon on the power play and watch how many stupid fucking things he does. Like it was just that in a nutshell. But anyway, McKinnon 8,500 against Utah as a significant home favorite in a 6.5 total with no Matthews, no McDavid on the slate. Nacha scoring 2 goals last game. Can you say chalk monsters coming? Any thoughts on that?
No, I think it will. I agree. I think this is probably there's one other spot that we're going to get to at the end here, but probably one, really actually all three late games. The late hammer bros will be out in full force, and this is the first one. Like McKinnon, Nachos, Lehkonen dominated on opening night on a small slate, was absolutely the must-have pieces with Pittsburgh too, as we already mentioned. But this is much sexier play. I'm not going there myself. I really like this Utah team. The other spots that we're going to mention shortly, I'm more interested in. But it is, all things considered, a very well-priced option. I just actually think this is going to be somewhat chalky on a 14-game slate, and that's just not something I'm interested in playing in the tournaments. I could see now, honestly, I was going to say something about cash games. I'm not even going to. I don't think I do it.
Okay. Yeah, I'm sorry, I was not listening to a word you just said. I checked in on all the scores, and holy shit, just got absolutely um carpet bombed by empty netters apparently here. All right, anyway, I'm guessing you said stuff about Colorado. That's cool. I take that L, DJ. I'm sorry, I got very distracted. Brock Nelson is a
No,
guy
you're
I'm
fine. I've
quite
I've done
interested
it
in
many
again.
times, and yeah, not too
Um,
happy either about Boston scoring again, to be honest. But whatever.
I'm salty because I had them in on FanDuel as like my, oh, I'm gonna be cute and play this on FanDuel, and then I was like, no, I want to play Ovi, and yeah, didn't work.
Nope.
So anyway, Nelson here is a guy I really like. Again, gonna check out his power play point prop once again. We'll see if they update that, but he's playing the Rantanen role right now, so I really like his odds. And 5,100 seems quite fair. Gabe Landeskog played like 11 minutes last game. It's very clear that they're going to manage his minutes bigly. If they have a big lead, he's just not going to play. So you can't play him. But Nelson's fine. Nichushkin is whatever. And then obviously the top guys are the top guys for a reason. But we're going to get fancy and do other stuff. Anaheim heading into Seattle. This one seems a bit boring. It's a 5.5 total, but there's a lot under the surface to break down. First and
Yep.
foremost for Anaheim, no Ryan Strome. That means Cutter and McTavish somehow dodged Michael Granlund on their line because they need
Yep.
Granlund to play center for the third line, and they get Seneca. Sorry, I believe Seneca is how the announcers were saying it. The third overall pick from a couple years ago. Now we have a line of the third pick in 2024, the fifth pick in 2022, and the third pick in 2021, all of whom are top 60 prospects in both Wheeler and Pronman stuff, playing together for a total of 13K against the Seattle fucking Kraken on a 14-game slate. DJ, I'm gonna burst. Like this is incredible. How does it fail?
Yeah. No. Well, it fails because I guess they couldn't escape bad coaches if they don't play Cutter, McTavish, and Seneca a fair amount of minutes. But we're gonna find out, right? I mean, like it's just one of those things where we're gonna fuck around and find out because I'm playing it tomorrow. Like I'm definitely gonna have that line in my lineups, and if I watch, 3 power plays come over the boards and then get like a total of 45 seconds of power play run, yeah, I'm gonna be pissed. But that's just the game I'm playing tomorrow, and it like you could convince me that that is the top power play by far. Like it's not even close. And yet their coach doesn't seem to see it. Like Kreider, Carlson, Terry, Lacombe, and Granlund is just objectively worse than Cutter, McTavish, Seneca, Zellweger, and Killorn. Like I don't know what else to say to anybody other than I'm begging Anaheim to
Yeah.
give their coaches a shake and play the best players in the best spots. So I'm in on that second line. I will have it. I said like there's spots that people like. I don't think it's going to be entirely overlooked because there are enough donkeys out there, and slap shot slappies, as we like to call them, that probably will follow us into the cutter, the default follow cutter into anywhere. So I don't know. It will get some
Yes. Certainly following him into a dark, unlit alleyway, just to get mugged and beaten badly. So on the Seattle side, well, actually, Anaheim, I should say Kreider, Carlson, Terry, Lacombe,
Yeah,
I think is actually totally fine too. I mean, that's a
totally fine.
15.3K top line. Kreider, I think, is good. I think Leo's going to have a breakout year. Troy Terry is definitely good for 5,300 top power play time. And then if Jackson Lacombe just does what he did last year and gets 17 secondary assists a night, he'll definitely pay off that price tag. It's just, can they survive Michael Granlund giving away the puck every 4 seconds? On the Seattle side, McCann, Beniers, Eberle is their top line, also a top power play. It's like looking in a mirror here with Chandler Stevenson,
Yeah.
Kind of the Grim Reaper of the Seattle top power play. But yeah, literally, I mean, actually, yeah, the top lines, the colors all match. Oh god, this is a nightmare situation, isn't it?
Yeah,
Because
and the second line's way more fun.
yeah, exactly. Schwartz,
Like
right, Tolvanen. The only thing I want to
with
complain
Montour.
about is
Yeah,
yes, with
yeah,
Montour, of course, the boy. Not Yanni Newman did make the team, but he's on the fourth line, so he's coming for someone's job. And is it Jared McCann? Is it Ely Tolvanen? I don't know, but Newman will get there. He is inevitable, but unfortunately, we can't get there just yet.
Yeah, I mean, playing Seattle tomorrow is probably actually smart, especially that second line. I can't imagine a scenario where I really do it. There's 28 teams on this slate, and there's like 14, not even 14, there's like 9 good spots. And actually clicking on Seattle feels just like something I'm not gonna do. But Anaheim is not as good as people are saying, especially defensively. Like if you're like, oh, they got Truba and Gudis, that makes them good. Like get a grip. So I think I'm probably gonna at least take a look at like a little, a little Montour, just to see what it feels. I'm still
All
gonna
right.
be a Shane Wright believer, but we can keep moving.
A five-word take on Matty Beniers. You mentioned this, and I hadn't realized it. Matty Beniers in 4 preseason games had 22 shot attempts, far clear of
Yeah.
the next closest guy at 16. Is this the year for Matty Beniers, DJ?
Took a little stab at the end in best puck just because of that, just a small smidgen. I think it's kind of one of those things where it's if it doesn't happen, this Seattle team is going to be putrid. If it does happen, they're probably still bad. So buy early if you're a buyer. Like if you're a believer in Matty Beniers, it's now or never.
Okay.
McCann, Beniers, done. That's a good stack tomorrow. I mean, you could throw in Eberle. It really can't talk you out of it. Like
Yeah. Dunn.
I don't know if I'm doing it myself, but sure.
Yeah, I think Dunn is overpriced, but McCann, Beniers,
Like,
Eberle, you could
yes.
definitely sell me on. All right, Vegas, San Jose. Vegas on a road back-to-back here that is crucial. Well, sorry, traveling back-to-back after playing at home tonight as you record this. Crucial context because they are only minus 185 favorites in this matchup. 5.5 total. Obviously, Akira Schmid should start this one, not Eden Hill. But yeah, Eichel,
Yeah,
Marner, Barbashev, we're expecting. Saad, Hurdle, Dorofayev, Smith, Carlson, Stone. They bumped up Riley Smith 1,000, which is interesting. Dorofayev
sure.
moved up 200s. Eichel, I think he went up 100 or so. But Riley Smith went up 1,000, and I played him, so I'm just sitting here going, yeah, he's definitely not scoring tonight, is he? But what I want to say though is just keep an eye on the power play, because if it goes back to Shea Theodore at 6K against San Jose is going to be a mega jam in my opinion. And they very well could struggle tonight against LA and then say, well, we're going to switch it off of Dorofayev, and then Theodore goes ape shit at 1% owned tomorrow because he's not being projected as the top power play guy. So a very clear spot to watch. DJ, any interest in
Yeah.
Vegas stacks tomorrow?
I mean, I said it in the preseason show, like San Jose is the worst defensive team in the NHL. I think it's pretty inarguable. So every night that there's a NHL team playing against them, which is 82 times. You're going to want to at least consider it. Vegas on a back-to-back. I can only hope it'll keep ownership down, but I doubt it. Like this and Colorado
Yeah,
should probably be the chalkier two spots.
they're not gonna have a big team total though. Like, I mean, if this stays at a
Yeah.
5.5 and they're less than a -200 favorite, like it's gonna actually be in check, I think, especially when you have to split
Yeah.
it out across, Eichel, Marner, Dorofeyev, Hurdle.
Yeah.
So
I
I
really
actually,
don't think you could play it wrong. Like I think
yeah,
that like if I think the only wrong answer is not including Eichel regardless. Like just play Eichel, Hurdle, Dorofeyev. Play Eichel, Martyr, Hurdle, Dorofeyev. Like, do that. Like, go all the way in. Say the Sharks get absolutely shit canned. Like, it's a back to back, sure, but it's the second game of the year. These guys are pretty fresh. I think that's the way I would do it. Is just play all four of them. Of course, if
okay.
Theodore is out there on the first power play, just replace Dorofeyev with Theodore. I like that even more. So, yeah, I mean, I think it's this in Minnesota, in my opinion. I guess I just talk about San Jose first before I start talking
Yeah,
about my
let's
favorite sacks. What the fuck am I doing?
yeah. There is a segment
We're
for that,
also,
Petey.
yeah,
Don't you
yeah,
worry.
yeah. Okay, yeah.
San
Anyways,
Jose, Kurashev, Celebrini, Will Smith, Eklund, Wenberg, Toffoli. Bottom six doesn't matter. John Klingberg, top power play, 4,200. Um,
sure.
I I think you're really gonna have to sell me on John Klingberg before I start buying. His rates from last year aren't terrible from Edmonton. I don't think this is a ton of games, so I guess if you really are desperate. But yeah, Macklin and Will Smith are saddled with Kurashev. It's just real tough. I don't know how
Yeah,
to get around that. Not the spot for me.
I think it's not the spot for me. Vegas, with or without Pietrangelo, is still one of the best defensive teams in the NHL, and I struggled to find myself clicking that price tag on Macklin Celebrini, even though I am a believer in him, especially in DFS with his shot rate, but unnecessary on this slate. You can find better options. So
Okay.
yeah, it I think that's the best iteration of their power play, but regardless. But
Yes,
let's move
the
on.
certainly
Another back to
certainly
back.
the power play is how they would get there. So
Yeah, yeah.
it's all just a
Has
little
to be through
pricey for
them.
me.
Yeah.
Calgary and Vancouver, they just dropped the puck. Matvey Greedon has 2 shots immediately, so congrats to all the Greedon folks out there. Minus
Well,
200 for
they're not grieving.
oh, got it.
Oh,
Uh, so minus 200 for Vancouver and a 5.5. Starting on the Calgary side, no Jonathan Huberdeau, would expect that to hold into Thursday as well. So Kadri is flanked by Joel Farabee and Adam Klapka. Um, at least they're cheap, 11.6K for that line. Greedon with Frost and Coronado, at least they're cheap, 11.5K for that line. Zari with Backlund and Coleman, at least they're cheap, 11.3K for that line. Um, yeah, Mackenzie Weegar, 6,400. I'm guessing Zane Parake draws in this matchup, so keep an eye out for that. I'm guessing he's the dead minimum, but I also don't think we'd get confirmation on if he gets a power play roll or not. If he does
yeah,
draw in,
hasn't
yeah,
yet.
he is the minimum.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, I mean it's boy, like imagine taking a bad team and saying like how boring can we make them? Like this just feels like the most milk toast possible iteration of the lineup. And it's like, oh well, what happens when they get Huberdeau back? Oh, that really gets me going. Like, man, I mean, if I'm doing it, it's through Frost and Coronado. I hate it, but it's an option. Like Coronado is underpriced. It feels like you could convince yourself of that, but
mhm.
I don't freaking know. I mean, are we
Okay.
going back to Mackenzie Weegar?
Yeah, I Mackenzie Weegar, I think, is fine. He's just
Yeah.
a guy you can plug in any lineup, and he's gonna make it work with his rates and role. Obviously, Parake playing would be a slight worry, but like not a huge one. But I think my interest here is almost exclusively on the Vancouver side of the house. DeBrusque, Pedersen, Besser,
Yep.
top line, top power play, less than 17K with Quinn Hughes at just 6,800. We've talked about a lot of defensemen who are in that 5 to 6K range who are nowhere close in talent or DFS viability
Yep.
to Quinn Hughes. So I'm interested to see where his ownership comes in. Baines, Heedle, Garland. I mean, whatever. It's cheap. But Evander Kane playing with Braden Coots and Jonathan Lekermaki.
Yeah.
Lekermaki had 2 awesome goals in the preseason that I was watching. Dude has an absolute cannon. He's an electric player. Coots, I didn't know much about him, but he was all the rave of training camp, made the team, obviously. So we'll see how long that lasts. And then Evander Kane, top power play Evander Kane for 5,200. When the guy plays, he is a fantasy point producer. I I think I would be totally fine playing Kane, Hughes, and a punt in order to fit in, some other high studs else in the lineup, So basically punt the spot with Coots or Lekermaki. Um, yeah, I really like the spot for Vancouver against Calgary, playing on a road back to back.
I don't think you're going to find anybody in the industry lower on Calgary than Matt Moody. And I will just, I guess, piggyback onto it a little bit here because I love the Pedersen line with Hughes. Like that 4-man is something that I'm like that 4-man plus Nashville is something I'm really going to take a good look at. Maybe a little Anaheim piece to go with it. Like these late games are really interesting to me. A lot of the early games I didn't love. I absolutely love this spot. I could go all the way in on all 4 of them and feel really good about it.
All right.
Like if you're going to buy on Pedersen and be a Pedersen believer, do it on opening night, right? I mean, there's not going to be a better time to do it, in my opinion, especially when Quinn Hughes is 9K by the end of the year.
Exactly. DJ, 14 games, and we did it in just over an hour 20. I got to say, kudos to us. Let's do top stacks, guaranteed goals, and get out of here.
I'll let you go. Yeah, let me let you go first. No, okay. You go first. I went first last time. Right. I want to pull up my notes too. I want to write these down.
I still haven't found anything close in my mind to the Carolina top line, just as far as, wow, that's cheap when I opened up the team tab. So Carolina, Ehlers, Aho, Jarvis, you don't play a defenseman with it. You don't get cute and play Nikishin, or you don't play Gostisbehere. Like, you can play Sean Walker if you want. I don't think that's necessary. But those 3 guys, I think they're just offense in a box, ready to go to start the year. And I think they're going to be the key to taking down Thursday's slate.
Yeah, I do like that quite a bit, honestly. Like I said, I feel like I like both sides of that game in different kind of builds, but that's a really good one. I'm gonna just stick honestly with Vancouver 1. I just if there's anything I'm 100% certain I'm gonna have, it's Quinn Hughes and Pedersen with at least one of Besser or DeBrusque probably or both. I mean, like it's gonna come together, but I'll just go with Besser to make it easier. So we kind of do the 3-man. I think that there's just no way I'm not giga jamming Quinn Hughes and hoping that people don't follow as hard.
All right. I like that. Nobody is lower than Matt Moody on the Calgary Flames. I put that on my tombstone because I'm sure it'll bite me again this year. Let's go with, whatever. I'm just going to go Cutter, McTavish, Seneca, the absolute slappiest of slap picks for the DFS slate here. But the prospect pedigree is absolutely there. They're so cheap that they really only need to score 1 or 2 goals to make it work. I'm not asking for the moon. I just beg of you, Cutter Gauthier. Just do your thing before your 102nd shot attempt this season. I beg you. Please. I can't afford it. I cannot afford to do what happened last year again.
The children are starving for it. I mean, I'm pretty torn here, but I think I'm just going to do Utah 2 and be brave instead of being a gutless coward. Like this Colorado team, like I think this is just a really, really interesting GPP pivot off of a lot of the other kind of similarly priced stacks that people are going to be clicking on. So Cooley, Gunther, JJ Peterka, let's just buy right in on it. Give me JJ at 4,400. I think he is a 5-on-5 monster. And if they get there, it could come in spades. But in reality, what I really believe more than anything is all of these guys have a propensity to shoot if they have the opportunity and hopefully don't slow down. So I think all of them could have, 3 or, a couple 5-shot on goal games if they get there all the way, and hopefully a number of points to follow. So give me Utah 2. Perfect. I mean, the second line, not as well.
Dylan Gunther might be even killing penalties this year too. So I mean, to the moon on Dylan Gunther stonks.
Wow, it would be crazy if I drafted him like 25% again. Who would have
I
thought?
mean, gosh, only the
But you know
smartest
what? You know,
people
I
would
have
ever
the
do that.
I believe I'm the second highest skater I have is Morgan Riley. Darn, it'd be a shame if he had like 30 points opening night.
I
Absolute
mean,
travesty.
God, it'd be a shame if I bet all the players who smashed, but I didn't bet anything that they actually did. So, yeah, it
I play
happens.
Morgan Riley in my main lineup. I mean, so
Yeah,
that is what it
I,
is.
I suck and I played Montembeau, so it is what it is.
Yeah.
Though
Uh,
guaranteed goals, DJ. Do you have anything in
Fourth
mind?
highest skater.
Okay.
I was actually gonna while I was not gonna be looking at my best buck teams on the second day. I was gonna look at what I could do with Philippe Forsberg. And you know what? I'm just gonna take Philippe Forsberg and then I'm gonna figure it out in a minute.
Cool. I am going to go, I believe, a little bit cheaper than that, so we're not in the same range. Yeah, I'm going with uh, where is he? 6,300. Alex DeBrincat. So that leaves me 4,700. Leaves you with uh 3,600.
I was about to say, why am I only seeing Vancouver? It's because I had clicked on only Vancouver, and that's I mean, it's not going to be a ton of help when there's 14
It's,
games. Do you have
that's a
someone in
sign.
mind while I look through these players?
Absolutely not.
I have
That
a
is
boy. I'm wavering on Snuggerud. That's going to be the first guy
ooh,
I think about,
that
but
yeah, that seems like
I
a
mean, it's probably
solid
the
one.
right answer, but yeah. All right. Yep. You know what? I'm in. I mean, Snuggerud makes all the sense in the world. So I'm not going to be stupid. I'm actually just going to take Jimmy Snuggerud.
Okay. Because this show needs to get on the road, I am just going to go with tried and true friend of the show, Shane Wright. The dude, I think,
Uh,
had as many 5-on-5 points last year as was it Sebastian Aho? But just got dicked around by his coach and never played and whatever. There's a new sheriff in town, Shane Wright. The absolute slappy day. Anaheim, Seattle, just the moods bowl, might as well call it. So give me Shane Wright and Alex DeBrincat, while you have Philip Forsberg and Jimmy Snuggerud. DJ, anything you want to say before we hit the road?
no, I honestly, I don't know what it was, but when you said that there, I was like, could I game stack Anaheim, Seattle? That's the perfect time to shut down the podcast. When you start to think
I mean,
that stupidly,
if
you
you
could do it
take
now.
my late slate, see me in the late slate lobby. Um,
Oh God.
I have a good idea of what I'll be playing tomorrow.
That's fantastic news for everybody playing the late slate and mainly Sisma. Okay, we can. No, I mean
Yeah.
it's 10:30. We kept it to a reasonable amount of time. We should take our wins when we get them. Mid-season
Yes.
form, in my opinion. Checking lineups on the fly. The only thing we didn't do is really interact with the chat. So thank you everyone that came in and commented. It's good to see some of you guys. Good to see Boom and Stoner, Tim, Don, who was asking about tournament plays on the late slate. I feel bad that we I really have a very quick take there, but kind of already moved on to tomorrow. Thanks everyone that joined in on that and the comments and all this other nonsense. And like, subscribe, comment, or don't. Up to you. Your world. I'm just living in it. Matt, anything you want to say before we close out?
Yeah, shout out to me for spending an hour and a fucking half updating this Excel sheet, because it turns out there was a lot of news in training camp since the last time I updated it. And there were 28 teams to go through. So again, shout out to me for that. There's a lot that goes on behind the scenes of this show. DJ comes up with the thumbnail 5 minutes before the show starts and makes the link. I'm out here in the streets not watching the hockey games in order to play on the spreadsheets. So
Yeah, that was truly. I started it like at the gym, and I only was like, oh, I'll do Kyle Connor. He resigned today, and then I just couldn't think of another person, and then I was like home, and I was like, oh, I never finished it. And I was like, wait, what the Michael resigned too? So yeah, just
yeah.
a classic not thinking situation.
Well,
But
there
yeah,
you
let's
go.
get to watching some more hockey. I was really enjoying the first game, and don't mind taking a break in here to do this. But LA just scored on the power play, and I'm sure Byfield was involved. He was not. Great.
He was not. All right. We should get out of here, though. Make sure you check out my newsletter, moods.beehive.com. You can read my my preview for the weekly slate if you are so inclined. See what I thought, see where I went wrong. Hint, it was everywhere except the cheap goals, I guess. And yeah, that's about it, because obviously you're either listening to this on the podcast feed or watching on the YouTube, and vice versa there. All the links are in the description of whatever you're watching. So make sure you hop in the Discord. We are so back. A 14-game slate coming on up. Fast and Furious starting tomorrow. But then stopping on Friday because of the NHL. Weekend note, I believe I will be out of town for Saturday. So if you do something,
me too.
That's fine.
No, I'm out of town.
Okay. All right. So we'll be back next week. Normal schedule, I believe. Tuesday, Thursday podcasts, and I will figure out what slate I want to preview or whatever. But the best way to know what we're up to is by following us on Twitter. I'm at Fake Moods. DJ's at DJ_Mitchell94. And also join the Discord again, where I will be posting everything that we do. With all that said, thank you for listening. From Doug, from DJ, from myself. Have a good slate, everybody, and we will see ya.
You're saying they're looking like an idiot.
Well, is that any different than normal?
This is the first time I will admit was unbelievably wrong.